Hello everyone. It's another beautiful day in Zamunda. If you watch the movie Coming to America, you know what I mean by that. Today's video is just going to be a short explanation of something that I decided to do. When I fly in the RV, I've always had oil temperatures that were low, and you know the target on an oil temperature is about 190, and from what I understand, they say that gets rid of any moisture. It causes it to vaporize and leave the oil. I get close to that sometimes in the summertime, but recently I was flying and the temperature here was in South Alabama was in the 50s. I don't remember what it was, low 50s maybe. My oil temperature was 154 degrees after flying for about 30 minutes, and it never got any higher than that. And I know the outside air temperature is going to influence that. A while back, a year or so ago, I thought, well, maybe my oil temperature sensor is not reading correctly. So I had pulled it out, put it in boiling water, had another thermometer in there, and I compared them as it reached 212 degrees. And it was pretty accurate all the way up. And I think when it got to 212, it was no more than about 5 degrees off. So I feel like the temperature probe is correct. I know it reads the coolest oil in the engine. But still, 154, and from what I understand, the oil in the engine is actually about 20 degrees higher, so that puts it at 174, which is still a good bit short of 190. So I decided I was going to make a little oil cooler door that I can open and close in the cockpit. I'll show you the setup on my oil cooler, and it's just stock Vans. You can see there it is in the corner right there. No reason, and it's the one that came with it, so you know it's a small cooler. Like I said, I've never had any problems with it running hot at all. So my solution is to build a little door right here, this door that I built that I'll show you, hook it in right here with these mounting bolts, and it'll swing out this way. And I'm going to bring a cable out through right here, right there somewhere, maybe right through that little where those wires come out, if it'll work. Hook it to this bracket here, and it'll open and close this door like this. So let me show you what I've done. Now you have to forgive, don't laugh at my cannibalistic approach. This thing looks like a Frankenstein, but it looks like Frankenstein for a reason, because all I got laying around here was spare piano hinge, some spare small pieces of sheet metal, and if I went to a piece of sheet metal that was big enough for the door, then it was too thick. So I just cannibalized and made what I had work. So let me explain this to you, what I've done. This here is just the hinge right here, as you can see. This is the side that'll be against the oil filter, the oil cooler. So everything back here is flush riveted. This is actually two separate pieces. This one's shorter because if it was long as this, it would hit that top tube that goes right by here. The engine mount. This little piece here is just so that they stay lined up and this one doesn't vibrate. And you like this little door hinge? This little, where I'm going to hook the wire into. But it works. I did have this mounted here. These rivets are just filling the holes. This hole here was already in this piece of sheet metal. Ain't going to make that much difference. But the reason I had to move this little hinge bracket that I made from here to here is when it was mounted here, the throw in the cockpit was going to be about 2 inches or 2.5 inches, and in the most of the time it's probably going to be open at least halfway. In the summertime, all the way. That means that knob in the cockpit was going to be hanging out 2.5 inches or so all the time, and I didn't like that. So I moved it over closer to the hinge, which would give it a lot less throw for the same distance of opening, and that kind of solved the problem. Now fully closed and fully open is probably going to be about 1 inch. So let's go over here and let me get it mounted on the side of the oil cooler and show you how it's going to work. Okay, there it is. Easy as pie to mount. Just had taken these two screws, two bolts out, put them back in there, tighten them up, and you can see the hinge mounts right there. And there it is. It doesn't cover 100% of the cooler, but about 98%. Anyway, that would be fully closed, and I can't imagine ever doing that. But when the cable is hooked up right here, it'll be like a carb heat cable. When that is hooked up right here, that will be fully open, and there's almost, you know, there's no resistance to airflow there, so that's going to be like fully open. And in the wintertime, you know, I may have to push it up about like that or so, just to restrict a little bit of the airflow somewhere in there. But that's going to be a trial and error kind of thing. In the meantime, I don't have the cable yet, don't even have one. So what I'm going to do is just zip tie this through this hole around here to keep this open and out of the way. All right, got it all zip tied back out of the way. And now it can't do anything. I always use 2 zip ties in case one of them fails. The odds of 2 failing by the time I get that are just pretty small. The only other thing I'll point out here is when I put this little hinge in, of course it's got a little bend on the bottom so it can't come up. But I never wanted that to be able to get to this on the cooler, any of these fins. So I bent it down enough that it hits this plate in the way first. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed the video, and appreciate a comment, a like, and a subscribe. We'll see you next time.